Good afternoon, everyone. Um, well, I'm Ted Wampler Jr. with Wampler Sausage Company, and I guess my part in today's presentation is to kind of give some real world experience to the great things that all the folks have talked about here. Um, I never do anything though without a little commercial, and so you'll have to pardon me for just a second there. But wanted to start out with something along the lines of this. You know, our sausage, it really hasn't changed from the way that Dad developed how we make it years ago. But of course, the way we make it certainly has. And that's because, in large part, to two things. We're a lot faster now in what we do than the old techniques. But the second thing is the energy and that we use to make our product with. A whole lot of it comes from renewables. This is a picture of the plant today. Um, Actually, it's not. It's way behind the times. We've expanded quite a bit from this picture. There is where you can see some trucks parked over there. There's a huge building now that connects our shipping freezers with the main plant. You can see our large solar field back in the back, and below that is our hydrogen on demand energy plant. The new barn doesn't have the solar on it in this picture, but we do have our original system in there. The plant today, we try to be as innovative as we possibly can be, and a lot of the projects we've worked on with the folks with USDA, the REAP program, TVA, and all these folks, a whole lot of it on the energy side to be innovative there. And of course, the plant is uh, level 2 SQF certified. That's all the requirement, top level for the kind of products that we make. What I'll cover in the discussion is a couple of things here. Why did we originally invest in solar? And then our 4 solar projects, I want to touch on each one of those. And then, in that, we'll cover the financials of each one of those. So, why did we do it? Well, I think I went too far. There it is. The the thing that you would say, in a press release or something, goes along the lines of this, and it's true. We're an agricultural company, and because of that, we have an understanding of how important it is to take care of our environment. We depend on a good, healthy environment for everything that we do. Also, we have millions of consumers that enjoy our products each and every week, and we owe it to them, their children, their grandchildren, and beyond to make our products in the most responsible way possible. So that would be some of the reasons that we would invest in solar energy. And I would like to say that with the help of USDA, TVA, the state of Tennessee, the folks at the University of Tennessee, um, it all becomes possible. And so, from a community standpoint, in each of the communities we live in, going solar, doing this kind of stuff is the right thing to do. From a marketing standpoint, it seems today to be the only thing to do is to be as sustainable and as green as you can possibly be. And like I said before, from a business and from an economic standpoint, with the help of the folks that have presented before me, it becomes the possible thing to do. This is our first project. It's a very small one. This was back in 2009, and it's a 30 kW solar project on top of our sausage kitchen. I don't think I need to explain the components here like I would have in the past, but that's what we're looking at. 30,000 watts a long time ago, back in 2009, you can see was pretty expensive, coming in at a little over 201,000. But back at that time, to incentivize the install, there were a lot of programs. And so I believe through UT, this Tennessee CET grant that we applied for and got was $75,000. USDA REAP grant, 46,875. And of course, that's when we first met Chuck Morris, Bobby Good, Will Dotson, Joe Woody, a lot of those folks that really helped us back in those days. And then, of course, there was the TVA startup grant for a solar project of 1,000. So out of that 201, you can see that we brought in taxable income of 122,875 to apply towards the cost of the project. So net after grants, 78,000. We did get the 30% ITC, investment tax credit, on this project. Since the grant money comes in taxable, we get to value the full cost. So we got the tax credit of 60,305. When you look at the rules at that time for depreciation and the 50% bonus depreciation, things like that, we got a first year depreciation of nearly $90,000 on this thing. And so when you cut to the chase here, you can look at a project of the 201, look at the grants income, and then the tax credit leaves a net cash investment after you settle up with Uncle Sam of that $17,837. And the system had an estimated annual income, thanks to the TVA program to pay over retail at that time, estimated annual income of $7,500 a year. So basically in 2 years and a couple of months, we were made back whole on that original investment. This slide is just kind of a recap of all of those projects all together. We had kind of thought, that we were done when we did that first little system, but it kind of changed the culture here. And so, you either have a corporate culture by design or one by default. And we kind of defaulted into a design of being sustainable. And so we started water conservation, recycling projects, all kinds of things like that in the plant. And like I say, we thought we were done, but then 2011 came along. And so that's when we commissioned this system. I think we started on it in 10. But this is our 500,000 watt system that we saw to the left of that picture looking down from the sky of the plant. Probably a little better picture of it here. This was our largest energy project up to this point, was this system. Financials on it, back at that time, solar had already begun to drop. I feel like that the install cost kept coming down because of the public-private partnerships and the public funding assistance to end users that let the solar manufacturing companies and installers compete. Incentivizing the end users, in my opinion, the right thing to do. So our contract for this project was the 2.3 million. We had to do some landscaping on the farm to get ready for that, tear down a lot of timber and put up fencing and things like that. We spent that additional 108,000. So our total spend was $2.454 million. And so that was a pretty good hunk of money for us at that time. But because of USDA, because of the rules at that time for energy projects, and the help of another TVA contract for selling the energy, this turned out to be really great. So in 2011, a project that was completed at that time, you could apply for your 30% investment tax credit as a 1603 grant. And so we did that. So what happens, instead of investment tax credit, we got cash in the bank of $704,002.20 from Uncle Sam. Of course, that money passed right through us to the solar company, the install company. We also applied for a USDA REAP grant. And it's my understanding that the $250,000 we got for this project was the largest in the state's history to date. We did some things in that grant that I think really helped us in the scoring of that. And that was because we used all Tennessee components. The Sharp solar panels were made in Memphis. We used EETN, an East Tennessee company, to do the install. The components were ACG flat glass. There's some others in there, but we spec'd that everything was going to be Tennessee. And so Terry Brahms up at not Pellissippi, oh, good grief. She helped us, Terry Brahms helped us with this and kind of put what the economic impact would be to the state. And so that really helped us with the scoring to buy, local on the panels. So you add those two together, and it was $954,000 in grant money, leaving 1.5 million out of pocket. The cash we actually put down was $270,000 in total spend. That includes the $107,000 in additional costs that we did on the farm. And so that left us with a $1.23 million note at the bank. And so the great thing about that is the payments were $12,313.35 a month. And this project, the income is about $150,000 to $160,000 per year. So in 12-month bites, this system cash flowed itself. Of course, solar makes a lot more money in the summer than it does in the winter. So you do have to look at it in 12-month bites, but in bites like that, it's funding itself and it's in the black. Some other great things that happened for us at that time was the rules for depreciation of energy projects in 11. And so what happened there, we took the cost of the project, this is the contract price, not the money we spent on the farm, of the 2.346 million. We have to take 1/2 of the grant off of that for our basis. So our grant was that $704,000. So half of that would be $352,000. So that comes off of the basis of the asset. So that left us with a cost basis of 1.994 million. And the great thing is we got to write off that entire amount in 2011 off of our taxes. And so the income that came in as the REAP grant, the 250,000, the 1603 that came in as taxable also at the 704,000, you can see that those grants, we jump back here, a total of 954,000 taxable income. Well, the write-off was by more than $1 million more than that. And so, that depreciation, of course, went against the income of harvesting hogs. And so it really paid at that time to save the planet and go into the green energy business. You can look then at this next line here, the two projects, first two solar projects we did, our taxable grant income and incentives amounted to this $1,137,000. And so this system, it works. It's absolutely wonderful. This is a picture of the ceremony there with Congressman Duncan and Bobby, Will, my mom and dad, and me. The check there represents that REAP grant of the 250,000, and then the loan guarantee that we got at the bank of the 1.23 million. Having folks like Chuck Morris sign on that loan guarantee gets you a lot better rate than just having my name on it. And so that's a great thing. Chuck, I guess I woke you up, but this is our ceremony. The next thing we did, we didn't have any USDA involvement in this project as I recall, but this is part of our give back to the community. And so we actually own, along with our sister company, Family Brands, that would be Cades Cove Barbecue and the Elm Hill hot dogs, things like that. We
Carol Font 101.
Okay, I can't take that, Ducci.
Okay, thank you.
We own this 50 kW system on top of the elephant preserve at the Knoxville Zoo. And so they lease that building rooftop to us for $1 a year. And we have provided the asset, and hopefully we'll be able to work something out for many years to come as being a partner with the Knoxville Zoo. We actually got third place, I believe, for public-private partnerships in the United States Solar Congress with this project so many years ago after it was completed. And I think this might have been completed in 12. I don't recall right off. Our fourth solar project was actually done by my son, Trey, or Ted the Third, but he goes by Trey. And this is a 101 kW solar project on top of the new sow barns at the plant. And this is strictly on our side of the meter. It's just great to take that peak time charge down in the middle of the heat of the day. And so a really nice project for us. Here's the numbers on it. As you can see, the cost of solar, because of the investment and the way that this is brought about, has continued to drop. So this 2018 system was only $1.45 a watt compared to the 7 something we started out at. We did apply for and get a REAP grant on this project also of $20,000. The investment tax credit there is wrong. That's it should be more than that, because it would be 30% of the 145,000. That's 30% of the 125,000 REAP grants been taken off. When you look at the depreciation as it's happened and the yearly return that we're getting from that system, you can see it's got a return on investment of about 4.4 years. So that's our 4 solar projects. And the way those numbers came out, we're looking forward to doing some more things with the partners here. You see on this slide, everybody has been absolutely great to work with. What started out in 2009 as a 30 kW system on top of the sausage kitchen has turned into a lot of great things for us, even so far as it actually led us to go into a project with a company called Proton Power, where we're working to finalize an install of the first hydrogen on-demand energy system at atmospheric pressure that I know of for sure. And so that's kind of where we are. It's a great project. I highly recommend everybody that's listening to get with your local office of USDA and work with these folks on energy projects, because it's great for the economics, it's great for the community, and it absolutely can work. So I don't know. I think questions for me should probably be after Mr. Riddle, and so we can do that. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and turn the presentation over to Rick Riddle.
All right, Tammy, you going to queue up her video?
I am. Give me just one moment and we will get this going.
Farming the sun is no different than farming the land. It's just part of a three-dimensional look at agriculture.
It's important to be able to support businesses with sustainability goals because it's just a matter of good customer service. Mr. Riddle had a big dream for his farm, and KUB and TVA were able to come together to help make that goal a reality for him.
Well, Mr. Riddle came to TVA and asked us to help him come up with a solution to have him incorporate renewables into his farm.
Well, what we wanted to do was to create a place where people could see agriculture in motion. So few people have seen a tomato growing on a tomato vine. They're just so used to seeing it on the grocery store shelf. Take a look at the grocery store today. The average product in the grocery stores travels 1,500 miles. We want to keep that local, promote local, and be part of the local consumer network and local agriculture.
Many businesses have sustainability goals and are trying to offset their carbon footprint with renewables. So TVA is working very closely with our local power companies and end-use consumers to ensure that we can help them do so in a very financially viable manner.
We're hearing more and more that our customers want sustainability resources in their community, and we're happy to be that expert voice.
There's not a lot of money in farming for the farmer. Only about 12% of the retail sales value of a farm product ever makes its way back to the farmer. You have to find a way to capture the other 88 cents out of that farm dollar. It's pretty unique. You go out into the solar farm, you understand what's going on, and then you go back into the building and you say, wow, the lights and the air conditioning and the heaters or the coolers or whatever, they're being run from the energy that's being produced real time right here.
With the installation of the signage, TVA in partnership with KUB and the farm are able to educate visitors on what it means to have renewable power.
It's kind of been a full circle to where now we see solar energy being integrated in with a local vineyard and a winery, and how TVA and KUB have been a partner in making all of that happen.
Yeah, I don't have any slides. I'll just go over a little bit. Ted did a great job covering the financials for a solar system. It's changed over time. I think when he put his first system in, he was getting 12 cents on the kilowatt to produce electricity. When I put my system in, it was a zero net. We put 50 in front, 50 behind the meter. Prices have come down. Technology's improved. We have a 99 kW system, provides about 91% of our electrical usage, provides us a cost savings of a little over $12,000 a year. And, it's just like Ted covered, the financials are kind of a no-brainer, if you ask me. You have the USDA grant. At the time that we invested in our system, the tax credit was 30%. I believe that's dropped now to 26%, and they're holding it 26 for a couple of years. Your depreciation depends upon how you have your business structures established, but that's also an additional savings. Our overall payoff for our investment was 3.8 years. And so it not only is I guess in my opinion, a financially smart thing to do, it's sustainable. It helps your business. It attracts people to your business. It is not a viable investment for a farming perspective yet. I do think those kinds of things will change when you look around the country. A lot of solar folks are coming in and renting land from a farm owner and turning that land into a solar farm, and the farmer has a greater return on the investment as far as rental value of his property per year than what he had before. Whether that be cattle farming or grain farming or anything like that. As far as the lessons learned, I think I've learned some kind of the hard way. Is you don't know what you don't know. You can't predict the future. I think the biggest issue for us has been the growth and how if we had to do it over, what we would do now. One of the biggest lessons, I believe, for us has been how to manage centrally both your power coming in from the grid, your power that you're using behind the meter, feeding your current operations, and then the power that you're feeding back to the grid. You don't want to set something up where you're paying 15 or 20 meter charges on a facility. The key is to have a central location with a central meter. And part of that is we are just going through an expansion. We just spent $25,000 to bring a ground mount transformer into the facility, and then have a meter on that single transformer to provide multiple outbuildings with power. We're stuck with having a couple of meters on the property. It would have been better if we had had a little bit more vision and brought a transformer in a number of years ago, centrally manage the power coming from that transformer to feed the resources that we needed to feed on the farm, and not have multiple meters and multiple sets of transformers and all of those kinds of things going on. So I think when you start going down this road, you need to look at what your potential growth is, and just like what Ted talked about, what they got three systems that they've installed on their property, and hopefully they saw what was coming down the pike and have a central way to both feed that behind the meter and feed that in front of the meter. Working with your local power company is absolutely key. Here it was KUB and TVA. They've been fantastic in helping us through everything. Rural Development has been fantastic in what they've done for us. Then, of course, your accountant is important in understanding what the financials are, where your return on investment is going to be, and what you can do. It's just like Ted touched on it a little bit. They had to do quite a bit of work to get ready. Well, that work that they did, you're available to add that to your total system cost for your energy tax credit and some other kinds of things. So it's important to understand what you contribute, how that plays in with the overall finances of your system, and then how technology is going to change. I mean, when we put our panels in, they were 335 watts. Ted didn't go over that as far as what his first panels are compared to his most recent panels, but that technology is changing. In a few years, I'd say we could get double the production from our array by upgrading our panels to newer panels. And you saw the cost on his first system versus the cost on our system. It's really come down, and the panel cost continues to come down. Another thing that's important, and one of the reasons that he's done so well, and I think that what's helped us, is how you have your entities established. How are your businesses? We're established as a family farm. We run our businesses through multiple limited liability corporations on the farm. Both of the kids are here operating their own businesses. And so the way that you set that up, you also need to look, 5, 10, 15, 20 years or 100 years down the road, so that you can ensure generational transfer, put this stuff in a trust, set up your limited liability companies, investigate where you want to do that. Do you want to do that Tennessee? Do you want to do that Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming? Those kinds of things. What works best for you? Those things are important. From my perspective, the lessons learned is know your power company, work with your tax situation to look at that investment, set your entities up to meet your current and future needs, and look down the road when you start doing these things at your potential facility expansion and how you can centrally manage that power coming in and that power going out from a from a central location, because you have to look at these investments as amortized investments. 25 bucks a meter don't seem like a whole lot, but if you got 4, 5, 6 meters on the place, $75, $100 a year in 50 years is a chunk of change. And so, you're in the business to stay, financially viable and offer a sustainable alternative. So, you have to look at these things and make sure that, you utilize your resources and keep your finances as best you can. So I think I'll stop there and, open it up. Folks have some questions for any of us. I think we'd be welcome to field those.
Anybody want to unmute and ask some questions? We've got 2 people here that have really made it work, so it's a good time.
I'm going to ask Ted a question. How do you all centrally manage yours? Do you have a single transformer that's metered that you route all of your production and input power through, or how do you do that?
Wow, that's an engineering question. But I think so. Now we have one main meter into the plant, but we also have separate meters like down at the hydrogen energy facility. And of course, the 500 kW system goes through that. The 100 kW on the sow barn is strictly on our side of the meter, and the 30 kW, it's on top of the plant, but it's also metered to see what it's putting in at our main meter. So I guess the best answer would be, yeah, we used to have meters all around the plant. Every time we would build a building on, we'd start a new process, we'd grow, and we'd get new service into the plant. And it reached the point, where we had to do the smart thing. And we came in with huge transformers back at the back.
Uh-huh.
And really the power to this main facility all comes in through that. And that lowers your power because you would have upfront high charges on all those separate meters. And so the one system definitely pays. And so as I'm thinking through it, yes, we're coming into the plant at one service now.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I had a question. I've been kind of bouncing in and out, so sorry if you've answered this already. But how much of the the project preparation and putting together documents and applications, how much of that was handled in-house versus, did you ever consider bringing in like an outside consultant, or were you able to handle that between yourselves and the contractors and kind of the rural development office?
Well, I can answer what I did, Tom. We met a fellow named Harvey Abulata, who's with Solar Alliance now, and we pretty much got turnkey jobs. And so his company helped us at each place he's been. His company has helped us with everything from grant writing to all of the applications, things like that. I really liked doing it that way, working with an installer who did all of those services, not just install the panels, because I'm kept pretty busy harvesting hogs. And so it actually let me concentrate and grow my core business at the same time this other stuff was going on. And so for us, the outside contractor was the way to go, who did all those things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we used Green Earth Solar. They wrote the grant, 100% of the interface. We've actually financed ours through FSA. So we did our local financing. Green Earth Solar did the grant writing and the interface with rural development, TVA and KUB, and then of course you keep your taxes and your other stuff in house. But I'm like Ted, that helped out a lot. You can do it yourself. I know some people that have put in some large systems and have done it themselves and have done it cheaper. From an out of pocket perspective, but I don't think that much cheaper to make it worth the trouble to make this happen.
And were you guys able to roll those costs into, the funding that you got between the grants and the loans, or did you have to put that money up first and then you got reimbursed through that funding? Or how did that work exactly?
From my standpoint, we were always putting the money up front first. Like in the case of, say, that 1603 grant, we had to fund everything up front, with the bank, and then you're at risk for the getting the funding back. And of course, it all worked, and so we did get the 1603 cash grant, and then of course the great REAP grant that we got from USDA on like that large system.
Yeah, same with us. I mean, like when we put ours in, 100 kW system, $200,000 up front, and then you just start carving that back. We had 49,926 USDA REAP grant. Of course, your tax credit, I haven't used all my tax credit yet, probably will this year. What's important, kind of from the entity perspective on that tax credit is this: you got your LLC set up, you're running an S corp. That tax credit is distributed to your to your corporate members based upon the percentage interest that they have. So, our tax credits were distributed to 3 managing members of the particular LLC that we use to execute that. And then, of course, your depreciation and your other stuff is all tax basis. So, it's all based upon having that agricultural business and having that business set up to where it can efficiently manage the return on investment, from your tax credits, from your grants, and from your depreciation.
Hey, Rick, this is Tyler with USDA. I think what Tom was asking was related to packaging the grant application. So for instance, with Green Earth Solar, putting your application together, you and I are familiar that most of your contractors will put that application together at no charge, so long as you use them for the install. So I think he was referring more to, did you guys pay out of pocket up front for your application packager, or was it included in the cost, or things of that nature?
Oh yeah, they did the application package up front, no cost to us. Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you, guys.
Guys, I wanted to point out too, I think this kind of falls into both Rick and Ted. Both of these companies have come back to us numerous times for grants. I think Ted has had at least probably 4 REAP grants, and maybe one we're currently looking at. Is that right, Ted?
Yeah, I think we've had 3 REAP grants, and then we've got one, large B&I loan. That expansion, when we go back to that slide, that's not a current slide of the plant. We've really increased our packing area recently, and that was a $1.8 million expansion, and that was a B&I loan through United Community Bank. But Chuck and the folks at USDA did the loan guarantee on that to the bank, along with me. They made me sign this time. But that is that's our largest deal that we've done, is about 1.8 million. And we are looking right now at another loan. It's the expansion boning to match the harvest that we've done on our own, but we need to expand the boning. I believe that's about a $1.3 million expansion with all the things that are going to go with that. We probably got about, we've already built new blast freezers, but we've got about 160,000 or so to go on that. And that's a split Freon system. And then we have our own robotics and X-ray technology system that's going to go with a big slice. That's about 1.6 million. And so we're looking to come to USDA for help on those projects.
Okay, yeah, and also I was thinking you also had an energy efficient lighting project, and we're currently looking at your cooler project right now. So with an application now. So what I'm trying to point out, and Rick with the wineries in the same boat, they've had several of our value added producer grants along with the REAP grant, and they've also worked through the Wine Association for a rural business development grant. So what I'm wanting to kind of tell everybody is to really be thinking about the idea that, this isn't something that you're just using one time. Always look to us in the future. Sometimes the grants are more competitive, you lose some score, but a lot of times there's money available. And, right now, this year's a good example. So far, we estimate that we're going to have in the neighborhood of 1.2 million for the state of Tennessee in funding. And right now we've got 5 applications on hand that total less than a couple $100,000. So that being said, I encourage people to think about applying, and, not just this time, if you have a second project we can help you with next year, keep that in mind.
Yeah, Chuck, that's correct. I wasn't even thinking in those terms, but yes, we've switched the entire plant to LED lighting. My son handled that, so I didn't really think about it through this presentation together, but that is correct. He's a mechanical engineer from University of Tennessee, and he got with you all, and he did the lights along with another, of course, a contractor again. But yes, that's correct. And of course, in our expansions, now we're just starting out from jump go with the LEDs.
Does anyone else have any questions?
What are you getting on your rates on your guaranteed loans now, Chuck?
Well, I mean, the rate's negotiated between the bank and the customer. So I mean, we really don't dictate it. We just ask that it be fair and reasonable. Mm-hmm. We on the REAP guaranteed loans, honestly, we've not had one recent enough to. The last one we had would have been one of Ted's. So Ted, do you have any idea what it was? It's been a while. I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 5%, but I'm not sure.
I think that's it, right? It was in that range. It was based at LIBOR plus 135, I believe, at that time, whenever we closed that. So I forget what it was, but it was a really good rate at the time we set that up. But yeah, I think LIBOR plus 135. Of course, LIBOR is gone now, but I was really pleased with the rate that we got from United Community Bank. And of course, one other thing, I guess not mentioned, I don't know if this applies to all of them, but for all of you all on here, the great thing about that is that 1.8 million with the USDA program, the way we did that, it's a 30-year amount. The interest rate does reset like every 5 years in a relationship that's exactly what you established at the beginning of the contract. So wherever LIBOR would be, there's going to be a new index signed, but that index plus the 135 is what would happen at the 5-year anniversary, but the note does not balloon. And so that is a fantastic thing to think in terms of on a project that's big. I love that, the fact that I could set this up, have it preset, as to what it's going to be in relation to the index, but never balloon and be paid out in 30.
Yes, that's one of the advantages of all of our guaranteed loan programs, not just the guaranteed REIT, but even the BNI that you spoke about that you done your plan expansion with. Is we require all loans to be fully amortized. So, for any of the participants listening that thinking about doing any kind of business expansion, our guaranteed 1RD guaranteed loan, which is what he referred to as BNI, is definitely a good option to think about in terms of securing a good rate and getting the bank with a guarantee where you have a lot of room to negotiate. I think Ted can speak to that it made it a lot easier to negotiate with the guarantee.
Oh, absolutely. The payment on that is right now just a little over 10,000 a month, and 30 years to pay that off, and a payment that low. At the end of the day, cash flow is king, and that particular thing worked out to be great from a cash flow standpoint. That's what's got me looking so strongly to do these next projects in a similar fashion, because each one of those are really important to our success and our bottom line, the projects I named earlier.
Ted, I think you've got a question in the Milton has asked a question, want to know what breed of pigs do you use?
Well, that's a secret. But actually, we get a lot of sows from the Midwest of the United States, from Canada, and from now North Carolina. There's no way to avoid North Carolina. It's number 2 in the country now for sow pig operations. Iowa's still number 1, and so most of our sows are coming from those areas. We do on our all natural product though. The government makes us call it all natural. It's really so much more than that. That is a world-class barbecuing hog, a beautiful animal. It's what I call a lipstick pig. But instead of a sow that would be what we normally harvest, it is a market hog. So it's only about 280 to 300 pounds. It is raised without antibiotics, never ever. So it's truly antibiotic free, no growth hormones, anything like that. But it's fed a patented diet. And in that patented diet, it takes on the omega-3s from human grade fish oil. And so we've got breakfast sausage that's almost like eating salmon for breakfast. So healthy sausage.
What's the state of the art panel now, Chuck? Do you know?
No, not right off. Honestly, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Most of the time when we see projects, I mean, we're looking to make sure that they're commercially available, but honestly don't pay that much attention to what all different brands. I mean, we see quite a few different brands. Some of the stuff I've seen lately is like Canadian Solar, I think.
Uh-huh.
But in terms of the wattage and everything, I'm actually not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to pull a project to see.
I'm not either. I do know that we just we're working on our insurance here now, and I think a system like the one that we spent 2.3 million on, that system today would probably cost around 600,000, and I do believe that you would be able to count on an income of 78 to 80,000 per year on that, on a half a megawatt like that.
Yeah.
So those panels, of course, are getting much better, and that's without the 12 cent over the TVA program. We did have, the reason the numbers worked so good in those first 2 projects is we were signed up for the 10 years over with TVA.
Rick, to answer your question, it looks like Melissa from Solar Alliance has put in the chat that they have a 440 watt cap panel that they'll be installing in the first group this month.
Wow. I think ours were, my gosh, what, 365 maybe. Yeah. So that technology just changes so fast.
Okay, Chuck, there's a question in there. Is there a source for CPAs to help with the accounting on this, or is that something contractors provide?
Oh, as far as CPA, our CPA is a Carrier CPA in Knoxville, and he just applied the law as it was at the time we did our project. And so, like, if you refer back to 2011, at that particular time, you could write off the entire asset basis in the year of the install. And so that was, such a great advantage, but that was done by a CPA that, that he made sure that we did follow the law as it was. And so that was, I mean, it just couldn't turn out any better than to get about a $2 million write-off. When you look at what we actually spent on the project, we were cash out about 265. Well, 107 of it was on the farm. So we really, on the solar project itself, we were about $150,000-$160,000 out of the bank account at the end of the day after everything was settled up. And so when you can write a check for the 165,000 and have something that will self-fund itself out, it'll be in the black, pay for itself, but yet write off $2 million basically in that same year. In a family business, that won't necessarily get you a raise, but that is a great way to look at a great set of numbers. And I don't know what the current law is on an energy project, if there's going to be any incentives, special bonus depreciation, things like that. I hope there are, because if there is an opportunity under the law right now in this year or whatever for bonus depreciation for sustainability projects, it becomes an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, we just used our local accountant, and she was well versed in whatever you need as far as maximizing what your write-off is going to be. So I think, I don't know that I'd want to do that myself, but I think a relatively well qualified accountant familiar with taxes would be able to do that for you.
Well, I guess, does anybody else have?
Yeah, one other thing I would suggest is when you contact the solar companies is don't be afraid to get a quote from 2 or 3 or 4 of them, because they will vary substantially. And the technologies that they use are quite different in how you go about mounting your panels, especially if you're going to do a ground mount system. So you can get the names of the local installers from the rural development point of contact, or just do an internet search. But I certainly would go with probably 2, and I'd really recommend 3 to have them give you the estimates for the installation that you're looking for.
That's good advice. Do we have any more questions or comments?
I just wanted to say, I guess on the audience side of things, thank you to all you guys for putting this together. Because I actually spent a number of hours, digging through websites, and I've actually spoken to Tom Irland and Adia before, just trying to get information. And this really has been, a great summary of of the program that I've been able to gather so far. So I think this will definitely help a lot of other people that are, on the same path.
Good. Well, Dr. Upinjam, do you think we should wrap it up?
Yes, sir. Well, we got 14 more minutes of our life back, so why not?
I expect Joe Brooks to have an application in by the end of the week. I see Joe's on here.
Yeah, I'll get right on that because I'm not converting over, so I don't think I'll be able to apply. But it has been useful this afternoon hearing some of these projects.
Yeah, I will tell everybody that's still on, as far as the audience, the programs work and they work well. Get with a good installer and work with the USDA REAP team, and you will be very pleased.
Yeah. I've got to get KUB to extend that grant program that they have for electric vehicle hookups to businesses. I hope that they're going to do that. But once you get these solar panels in, you need to go ahead and put you a couple of charging stations in for your business also, especially, if you're a rural destination business.
There is that Electric Tennessee with a goal of adopting like 200,000 EVs by 2028. So we're on the right path.
Yeah.
And Chuck, charging stations, you can't cover vehicles, but in some cases you can cover charging stations, correct?
Yes, we can, but it's kind of well, I say it's complicated. It's not complicated, but like in the instance that Rick's referring to, we couldn't cover that. What it basically it can't have any retail aspect to it. So for instance, a good example is if you have a pharmacy that you own a pharmacy and they deliver medicine, if they wanted to have in their own private company lot and have a fleet of electric vehicles and have charging stations that were used to charge those vehicles, and it had a solar component with it, then yes, we could fund it.
Okay.
But we can't have it say like it couldn't sit out in front of the pharmacy where the public could plug up to it. Then it becomes retail, even though they may not be charging them for the power.
Right.
But the fact that they can come inside and buy something from the pharmacy or that they're a customer, that the agency views that as a retail aspect.
Right. So the bottom line is talk to USDA-Rural Development.
Anything like that, I would always recommend running it by us before you apply.
Yeah.
I'm also going to, Sridhar, I'm going to send you a copy. I have a REAP grant questionnaire that's designed. There's one designed for each office with that contact. So if anybody would like, if you'd like, you can share them, send them out. They're just a simple one-page PDF with about 6 or 7 questions that they can send it back to the specialist on the form, and they can give you a real quick look at whether or not you're preliminarily eligible for the program. So I will send those to you, Sridhar, if you don't mind sending them out to all the participants.
Absolutely. We'll be happy to share.
All right. Thank you.
Well, if there are no more questions, I wanted to thank Ted and Rick, especially for taking the time. And also, I think Chuck and Tom for collaborating with us, and would wish you all good luck. And also for all the back support that Tammy McKinley provided. Well, we're really appreciative of that. Trying to get us to get to do the workshop and, doing the registrations and running the IT and everything. It seemed seamless. So thank you, Tammy, for all your help.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.